Okay. What's up, everybody? I'm doing this as a live stream because I was like, you know what? Why not? Because I'm kind of busy on Tuesday anyway, so it's more convenient for me to do it as a live stream anyway. But today we're going to be ranking all of the Socom games after playing them for the first time ever. I did a complete blind playthrough of all the campaigns of the Socom games. So we've got no nostalgia for these games whatsoever. So this tier list is obviously not going to be like, oh, maybe what it was back in the day. It might be slightly different because, yeah, I'm just going to explain it. But anyway, I may as well show the games. I may as well show them. Show them. So here's the playthrough of all the games we did. So we did the original Socom. Obviously, that took us, the first Socom game actually took us the longest. Also, for some bizarre reason, YouTube stream doesn't want to start. I have to refresh this page. That's really strange. But anyway, it's working now. Regardless, so we did Socom 1, Socom 2, Socom 3, the Fireteam Bravo game, combined assaults, all that type of stuff, Fireteam Bravo team, and the Special Forces / Socom 4, obviously here's the tier list. So, what am I doing? What am I doing? Here. It's the only problem with doing a tier list as a live stream compared to a VOD, is you have to actually think about the stuff. But anyway, before we do get into this as well, if you do think, what was I going to say? If you think the thumbnail is a tier list, by the way, you're a complete idiot. You're quite low IQ. But anyway, let's start. So let's start with the original game from 2002. Now, I actually do have a little bit of bias against these games. Like, I think these games are good games as a whole, but I think some of the games, a decent amount of the games, have actually aged really, really poorly. And I kind of can see how Sony abandoning the series, like, compared to, like, the other series like Killzone or Assassin's. I think Sony made a mistake abandoning those two series. But I can kind of see how Sony abandoned the Socom series. So let's talk about the first Socom game. So the first Socom game came out in 2002. It's a fun, you know what? Let's put a little bit of gameplay of the game on the background, Let's put a little bit of gameplay of them in the background while we talk about them a little bit. So Socom 1 actually, so Socom 1 was the only game I actually played on the original PlayStation 2. Later games in the series, I would be playing them on a PCX2 or the PSP and all that type of stuff. For some reason, the European versions of these games have a lot of issues. So I had to emulate the game on PC rather than playing my real PlayStation 2. So I only managed to play the first game on my real PlayStation 2, but obviously it's kind of a bad level, for example. It's like a bad level, but pretty much what you have to do is you go and rescue stuff, all that type of stuff. You got different types of levels and all that type of stuff. And it's like a Navy SEAL game where it's a lot of stealth and all that stuff. But the first game is absolutely brutal. So there's a decent amount of games in this series that don't have any checkpoints. And the first game, I think by far, is the hardest game. I found the first game the hardest game by far. Out of all the games, I found the first game easily the hardest. Because I had no checkpoints, no saves. You would die in like 3 shots. The teammate AI was abysmal. Like, there was this one guy that you'd have like 4, you have a squad of 4, right? Then you have a squad mate that just follows you 24/7. You can't tell him to do anything else. And usually gets himself killed. Like, you give them orders, but the teammates are really, really passive. But I really enjoyed the game for the most part. The only really bad mission for me was probably the prison escape. That's the only mission I don't really like in the game. I thought it was quite fun for a 2002 game. Obviously, a little bit clunky 2002 controls, but I kind of expect that from old games. But overall, I generally really enjoyed it. I think it's easily an A-tier game. I think Socom 1 is an A-tier. Now, obviously, we're not ranking the multiplayer for these games. The reason why I'm not ranking the multiplayer of these games, which I should have really explained at the start of the stream, but the reason why I'm not ranking the multiplayer is because the multiplayer has been shut down for all these games, and there is private servers on some of the games. But here's the difference between private servers and original. However, the problem with private servers is you're not getting the original experience because you're playing against people that have probably been playing the series for like 20 odd years or been playing the same game for 15 years. So that's why I don't like to rank multiplayer in games that are like over a decade that I didn't play back in the day, because it's very hard to judge it. Like, extremely hard to judge how you would rank it and all that stuff. But anyway, let's talk about Socom 2. So Socom 2 was the first game that actually introduced proper difficulties where you could pick spec at the start of the game, which was really nice. It still had no checkpoint system, but had more of an interesting story. But once again, it was pretty much a tactical military stealth shooter which there's stealth, the Socom stealth game, the stealth's not bad in Socom, but compared to other series at the same time period, the stealth was pretty abysmal. Like Metal Gear Solid 2 came out around about this time. Then you had the Hitman series around it with stealth. Granted, though, the Hitman early games weren't the best at stealth, but I will say, like, especially when it comes to the later SOCOM games, like you're comparing MGS3 to like SOCOM 3, or you're comparing like SOCOM Combined Assault to Hitman Blood Money. The stealth is pretty fucking abysmal in the SOCOM games. But anyway, second game, I absolutely loved the second game. It was pretty much just the same as the first game, but literally just improved everything. Like the shooting felt more consistent, aiming shots felt more consistent, the missions were generally more fun. I found them more fun, to be honest. There was that one mission, the dam mission, that was really, really stressful. Don't know how, but I managed to beat it first time. That's probably the most stressful mission in the game. But the AI, there was a lot more bounds. The AI was a little bit, tiny bit less aggressive, so it was a little bit more easier to be stealthy. Your teammates were still pretty useless. I'm going to be honest, it's a common theme this entire series. The teammates are pretty useless, but overall, I think it was an S2. I think it's aged absolutely amazingly. Out of all the SOCOMs, I think it's aged the best. I get it, the lack of checkpoints does suck. If you're playing on a hard difficulty, I would imagine there's lack of checkpoints suck, but I absolutely suck at these games, so I was pretty much playing them on a lower difficulty anyway, because especially the games that don't have any checkpoints. If the game had a checkpoint, I'd probably play it at a higher level, but higher difficulty, but I don't like playing games with no checkpoints, then you have die, especially if you're playing it for the first time. It's a complete blind playthrough, you know? So I enjoyed it. I thought it was just an improvement pretty much in every way over SOCOM 1. Like, the gameplay felt significantly more smoother. The HUD also felt a bit better as well. All that type of stuff. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, we did all the stuff live as well, so it was completely brilliant. But I enjoyed it overall. I enjoyed it for what it was. Let's talk about SOCOM 3. Let's talk about SOCOM 3. So, SOCOM 3 had more improvements, introduced more improvements. For the most part, like vehicle combat was really cool, right? Because the first two games don't have vehicle combat. It's funny enough, SOCOM 3 and Combined Assault are the only games in the series with vehicle combat. It's really weird. For some reason, on the PlayStation 3, they could not get vehicle combat on the... Well, they might have been able to in this one. I don't know. I can play this one. But anyway, yeah, they introduced like vehicle combat and all that type of stuff, which was cool. They introduced checkpoint systems. The ammo was a little bit less annoying to get, but here's the problem. I felt like the aiming and the target lock-on, I don't know why, it felt worse than SOCOM 2. Like, this game came out in 2003. 2002 for the original game, 2003. And then this game out, there was a 2-year gap between the second and third game. And I don't know what it was, but the aiming and the shooting felt worse. Like, I felt like I couldn't land as many hits. And the weird thing about the series is you can play in third or first person, and pretty much you want to, first person's easier for combat. If you're getting in combat a lot, I feel like first person's a lot more smoother. But here's the thing with the entire games of the series. You use any weapon with any scope at all, the recoil is crazy, even on the M4, which I don't know how much recoil the M4 has in real life, but most 90% of shooters, the M4 pretty much has no recoil at all. The M4, like, carbine pretty much has no recoil at all, but I enjoyed this game for what it was, but I do feel like the aiming and shooting was actually worse than SOCOM 2, so I'm going to put it at 80. I still think it was an absolute great game. I really enjoyed it for the most part. Obviously, same problem with all the SOCOM games. The AI teammates are fucking abysmal. They are too passive, and I just don't like how passive your AI teammates are. They are far too passive. So, yeah, that's where I rated this. I think it's worse than SOCOM 2. I think SOCOM 2 was a more fun campaign as well. Because you're kind of more like taking out like a... Obviously, kind of more terrorists and like private armies who were taking out more in the first 3 games. And third game kind of went more into a Warzone type of thing. But it was just kind of cool. But about that. Next, let's talk about Fireteam Bravo 1. So, Fireteam Bravo 1, which we'll bring up real quick. Obviously, as I said, I'm doing this live. So, Fireteam Bravo 1. I probably could have made this up more, to be honest. But whatever. Fireteam Bravo 1 was the first PSP game. I played this on pretty much original hardware, so it looked as original as possible. I thought Fireteam Bravo 1 was a really fun game. It kind of reminded like SOCOM 2 that way, but for the handheld consoles. I enjoyed it for what it was, obviously. The Fireteam Bravo games are really, really slow compared to the... This was the worst mission in the game, by the way. The control scheme wasn't the best. once again, they didn't really improve the control scheme in this series as a whole. The Q scheme was always kind of bad. They never really improved the control scheme. But I think Fireteam Bravo was a great first PSP game. It was pretty much SOCOM free, but it felt, funny enough, actually, it felt like it played better than SOCOM free. Like, they had new mechanics, like introduced the camera. You could buy even more stuff, like before you start up the levels, which was kind of cool. I had like a currency system, which I don't think SOCOM 3 had. I don't actually remember, to be honest. It was only like a month ago I played it, and I don't even remember. But I personally actually think Fireteam Bravo. This might sound like a hot take, but I actually think Fireteam Bravo 1 was a better game than SOCOM 3. I actually generally think for a PSP game was actually better than a mainline entry game. Despite the fact that I had no checkpoints, I feel like it was more consistent. Like the shooting and all that, I don't know why, it just felt more consistent. It's really weird, obviously, probably because of the shorter render distance. Yeah, I was kind of still balanced. The MMA was still kind of slow, but that I kind of like that because the AI would detect. It's not like a Ubisoft stealth game. The AI spot shoot in like a split second. So I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was a good game, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I think it is an S tier game. I could see myself replaying it one day. Next, let's talk about SOCOM Combined Assault. Now, Combined Assault is the first game in the series where I felt like it's been a 4-year gap. It's been a 4-year gap between SOCOM 1 and Combined Assault. And I'm going to be honest with you, the gameplay did not feel that much better. This is also where the viewership dropped as well, by the way. So, fun fact, I'm actually going to bring this up. This doesn't really matter, but it's kind of irrelevant, but I'm going to bring this up real quick. So, the interest in the series kind of died off. If I'm being honest, the interest in the series kind of died off by the time we got to like the 4th game. Like, the series was doing decent for like the first couple of games. Then interest just completely died off. So, that kind of describes how the way the series is anyway. But anyway, Combined Assault. As you just because I was getting 100 views like in the first freaking SOCOM game. By the time we get to the 4th game, we completely pretty much fell off in viewership. So obviously my algorithm is screwing over me in general. But the problem with Combined Arms is it pretty much plays the same as like SOCOM 3, but which has SOCOM 3 and SOCOM 3. It still had the kind of aiming problems of SOCOM 3. Like still felt worse than SOCOM 2. But here's the thing. This was the game that introduced a very aggressive AI. Like, it made the AI extremely aggressive. I don't know why. Like, they just decided to make the AI, like, extremely aggressive in this game. So, if you try to be sneaky, the enemies would, like, spot you for miles. You would physically get spotted for miles. And you just get lasered, and I don't know why they changed the way that the AI behaved, because the AI was significantly more aggressive in this one compared to the older games, and I don't like that, because they made the AI more aggressive, they made the MMA AI more aggressive, but they didn't make your teammates more aggressive, and that's the problem with this series. Like, I think if Sony ever wants to bring back this series, they need to make all the campaigns playable on online co-op with 4 players. And I think that would make the campaigns play significantly better because you're relying on you pretty much have to babysit your AI teammates. You put your AI teammates on fire at will, you tell them they're going somewhere, and usually get themselves killed. Or the worst example is an enemy spots your AI teammate for 15 meters away. Right? You see them, you start shooting them, so it's kind of a hard game to aim and shoot stuff. So you miss a bunch of shots, but you shoot in the general direction. Your AI teammates refuse to shoot the enemy, then your AI teammate gets shot. Then your AI teammate doesn't know where the fuck they're getting shot from. And I don't know. I just felt like the more aggressive AI, it just did not work. It did not work. Also, I just realised Tactical Strike is not on this tier list. Whoever made this tier list forgot Tactical Strike even existed. I'll talk about Tactical Strike real quick. So, I didn't actually play Tactical Strike. Tactical Strike was the one SOCOM game I actually skipped. The reason why I skipped it is because it's pretty much like XCOM. It pretty much plays like XCOM before XCOM even existed, and it's not a very good game. To be honest, if I watched some of it online, I don't know why it's not on this tier list, but I'd probably put it in the F tier. I think it was the worst game. From what I've seen online, it looked like it was the worst game in the entire series. But anyway, next is Socom Fireteam Bravo 2. So the Socom Fireteam Bravo 2 did improve, like, the control scheme was a bit better. It introduced, like, optional side missions on that, which was really, really, really cool. I think that was sick. It introduced side missions and all that type of stuff. It introduced, like, you could buy more stuff and ever. Like, you could buy an airstrike, or, like, ammo drops or crates, like, in the middle of a battle, which was really, really, really cool. I think that was epic and sick. Which I'll bring up a little bit gameplay of it in the background, right? But it had, obviously, it's a PSP game, so it had a super zoomed in camera, which was really, really zoomed in. But this was the first Socom game I think actually felt better. First, no, I still played it first. I don't know why I forgot. It's only 2 weeks ago I played this. But once again, mainly first person. Once again, no respawns, so that's kind of the problem. This game had no respawns at all. No respawns, just like Fireteam Bravo 1. It introduced more stuff, but the problem is it had the same aggressive enemies as Combined Assault. Even on the easiest difficulty, which I played on because I had no checkpoints. And I wanted to do it one stream. I think it was better in Combined Assault, to be honest. I think it was better. Because it had introduced like more stuff you can buy on the shop and it's optional side missions on it, was really cool. So I would give it an 80. I think it's easily an A-tier game. I think these Fireteam Bravo games are super underrated, by the way, if you haven't played them. I think the first 2 Fireteam Bravo games are secretly absolutely amazing games. I can barely read that text. Next is Socom Convention. This game doesn't have a campaign. I know I'm kind of flying through this tier, so I probably could have made this a video. This game doesn't have a campaign, so I can't rank it because I know that multiplayer. I know there's private multiplayer servers in some of these games, chat. I get there's private multiplayer servers in some of these games. Here's the problem. It's not the same as playing it back in the day. Because private servers, you're playing against people that probably played the game for like 20 plus years. So I can't accurately rank a multiplayer only game. You know, that's kind of the problem. Like, I can't give an accurate ranking of a multiplayer only game that is using private servers and no longer uses the official servers, because that's kind of the problem with tier lists. Some people rate like multiplayer game modes in certain games that are like over a decade old. I'm like, if you didn't play the game back in the day, it's kind of hard to rank it because the problem with playing a game that's like over a decade old when it comes to online modes is you're going to be playing with a bunch of noobs and you're going to be playing with the most sweatiest people on the planet that haven't moved over to any other game. So it's very hard to rank, but I didn't play this one because it was multiplayer only, which I didn't know at the time I made the list. I did not know I didn't have multiplayer. Anyway, let's talk about Fireteam Bravo 3. So Fireteam Bravo 3 is easily the weakest Fireteam Bravo game. I'll be honest, I completely forgot what the fuck the story was even about. I don't even remember what the frick the story was about at all. Don't remember anything about it. I barely remember. I just remember you play like the squad and then you like civilians. I mean, it's the only PSP game to have a 4-man squad, but I we move like the buying stuff and all that type of stuff, which again, I'll bring up a little bit of gameplay in the background. But it was also shorter as well. I bet it in 2.5 hours. Like the other games were taking me, the other PSP games I mean, graphically, this game looked decent for a PSP game. I was just a 2010 PSP game, so graphically for a PSP game, it looked decent. Obviously, it's not beating God of War, that God of War game. But I'm trying to... But that's, like... They dumbed down, like, the stuff you could do, so I was kind of just skipping it that way. But it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's kind of more of a story. This is kind of where the time where Sony was more focused on story rather than gameplay, which is kind of still the problem of modern Sony. Like, modern Sony really does love their cutscenes. I mean, Hideo Kojima's the master of cutscenes. I wouldn't really say Sony. Sony kind of needs to go back to more gameplay type of games. But I don't know. I thought it was a decent PSP game. It's just like custom missions and all that stuff, which was kind of cool. But once again, I didn't play it back in the day. I also had co-op online multiplayer, but I mean, obviously the servers were shut down. There's probably some way to play it on private servers, but honestly, I'm going to give it a C. I think it's a C. I think it's not memorable at all compared to the first 2 Fireteam Bravo games. The problem is, well, it's a 4-year time gap. Like, Socom Fireteam Bravo 1 came out in 2005. Then 2006, you had the second one. And then you had Socom 3 that came out, Fireteam Bravo 3 that came out in 2010 for a 4-year gap. And I don't know, I just didn't feel... Now, let's talk about the final Socom game, which is Socom Special Forces, which is called in Europe or if you're in North America, it is called Socom 4. To be honest, I'm going to straight up say it. The European name is a lot better for this game, because you don't even play. You don't even fucking play as a US Navy SEAL squad. You literally play as a freaking British guy. You play as a British squad. So I don't know why it has Navy SEALs in the title. You literally play as a British squad. And obviously, graphically, this is the best looking game in the series. It's a 2011 game, so it wasn't even close. But this game dumbed down a lot of mechanics from the previous game. Like, your squad orders were just like left and right in the D-pad to order your squad to go somewhere. Then you click like down so they come back, or up if you told them to go somewhere. It was really weird that way. Also, the gameplay balancing was abysmal. Like, I played it on normal, but you died in like 3 to 4 shots sometimes on normal difficulty. Yeah, there were other stages where guys would, then the AI would spam grenades at you, but your guy tanked grenades, like grenades do no damage to your character at all. But your guy dies really fast to there was this boss fight. I don't know if I don't remember exactly where I did it, but it was somewhere on the stream. I think it was near the end. I'm not sure if this is when I shot it down. I was trying to see if I can find a bit in the stream, because this bit was hilarious. Yeah, let's look at that. Okay, that actually killed me. That time it killed me, but there was another time it hit me with 3 rockets in a row. My guy straight up tanked it. Trying to find it. I don't remember exactly where it is. I probably should have clipped it. Hey, if anybody wants to clip that, let me know where it is, because I don't remember. I probably should have made a short on it, talking about how fucking silly it was. Like, you die in like 3 to 4 bullets. I mean, I don't make shorts, but look at that! Look at that! There it is! I found it! Chat, so... I found it. Look at this. It'll go back like 10 seconds, right? So you see this, right? So you die to like a couple of bullets in this game, but look at this. Watch this again. And I was playing on normal. You die, as I said, you die really fast to bullets, but your guy just... look at that! I got hit by 3 rockets in a row, pretty much point blank range. Obviously not directly on me, but pretty much right next to me. My guy just tanks it like nothing. Then there's other fights where you die in like 4 shots to a machine gun at close range. Didn't make any sense. Also, Socom 4 did not feel like a Socom game for me. It felt more like a... It felt like a Ghost Recon game. It kind of felt like Ghost Recon Wildlands. Someone brought up in the chat. This is literally Ghost Recon Wildlands, which, by the way, shout out to this guy. Literally felt, shout out to Templar. I mean, he's obviously one of my subs. But anyway, it felt like that. And you know what? I was agreeing with him. It felt more like... I don't think it's the worst game ever, though. But it's not a Socom game. It's not a Socom game. So... It doesn't feel like a Socom game at all, and I get why this game cut off the series. I think this game came out during the PlayStation 3 massive hack in 2011. So I think I would put it in the D tier. So I think that's going to be my ranking. I probably could have made this a video rather than a tier list, and potentially made out some of the mistakes, some spelling mistakes and some stuff I made. It probably could have made this done in like 15 minutes, but I think it's going to be a ranking for all the Socom games. Don't have a lot to say about this. I just wanted to do this live because usually I'm kind of busy on Tuesdays. But yeah, it's going to be us today. So obviously, we're still going to do the Medal of Honor series. We'll be doing a tier list for the Medal of Honor series when we're done with the Medal of Honor series. We're going to start Medal of Honor, the second final Medal of Honor game on this Friday, which will be Medal of Honor 2010. Then after that, we'll do Warfighter. Then we'll do a tier list ranking all of the Medal of Honor games. Pretty much, I like to do a tier list of every game we do on the channel, because it gives me an up-to-date perspective, but this is my no nostalgia tier list. I know some old school fans might see this and completely disagree, which, fair enough, but I'm looking at these games from a recently bias. I'm not looking at these games from a thing. And I always try and play games back to back to give you an accurate rating of the game nowadays. Like, I used to do a playthrough of one game, then do a playthrough for like another game, but I feel like playing a series back to back to back gives you the best, most accurate tier list you can get. So that's what I think of the games. Obviously, as I said, the Tactical Strike game for some reason is missing from this list. I don't know why. I should have checked before I went live, but I didn't play that one anyway. That was actually the one game I skipped, because it would literally look like XCOM, but on a PSP. I mean, it didn't look that good, and a lot of people say it's the second worst game in the series. From what I looked and seen it looked like Socom 4 was a better game in my opinion. But anyway, that's the tier list, so we're going to end it here, chat. So as I said, yeah, So let me know what you think in the comments. But anyway, I guess I'll see you all next time. Peace out. Enjoy.